Let's see if we can reconcile. Let's talk about this. And she's going, I think I want a separation. So it's a fine line between.
Don't blame me if I don't love you. Kody Brown's most shocking confessions yet. The words that shattered hearts. Get ready. What you're about to hear may completely transform how you see sister wives and how you see Kody Brown. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you've ever found yourself heartbroken or stunned by the unraveling of this once tightly woven family. For those of us who've followed the Brown family for years, one thing has always been clear: where Kody Brown walks, emotional chaos follows. The man who once stood as the self-declared leader of a plural household is now more like the eye of a storm that has dismantled marriages, broken trust, and revealed the heartbreaking cost of conditional love. And today, we're not holding back. We're diving into the most gut-wrenching, revealing, and disturbing things Kody Brown has said. Words that didn't just sting, they broke spirits. Statements so callous, so hollow of compassion, they've left his wives, his children, and his viewers questioning if love ever lived in this man's heart at all. I don't consider myself married to Meri. It was like a blade to the heart, not just for Meri Brown, but for every viewer who had watched her cling to hope for years. With one line, Kody severed more than just a relationship. Severed the illusion that love had once lived there. I don't consider myself married to Meri. That was it. Cold, final, emotionless. To the woman who stood by his side through infertility, through loneliness, through humiliation on national television, this was the reward. After everything, after the catfishing scandal that broke her, after the isolation in Flagstaff, after years of Kody withholding even the smallest gestures of affection, this is what she got: abandonment disguised as honesty. There was no conversation, no apology, no tears, just dismissal. Meri had been led to believe, like so many women in broken marriages, that if she worked hard enough, loved deeply enough, waited long enough, he would return. But he had emotionally vacated that relationship long before he ever said it out loud. And when he finally did, he spoke like someone brushing dust from a windowsill. He was more concerned with what other people would think, Meri confessed, her voice cracking with betrayal. The woman who stood on the edge of her marriage with arms open, hoping for reconciliation, was met with nothing. No warmth, no closure, just indifference. And that was the cruelest betrayal of all. I wasn't attracted to you when we got married. Then came the moment that shattered Christine Brown. Christine, vibrant, joyful, loyal. Christine had given Kody 25 years of her life, 6 children, countless sacrifices, and in return, I wasn't attracted to you when we got married. Not in anger, not in passing, but in cold, matter-of-fact reflection. She had gone into their marriage full of hope, full of belief in their future. She believed in polygamy. She believed in the family. She believed in him. But Kody had felt forced. He said he didn't know what he was doing. He claimed he thought it was the right thing, but he wasn't in it with his heart. For Christine, it wasn't just about attraction. It was about everything that statement unraveled. Had he ever seen her? Had he ever cherished her? Or had she been fighting for a love that was never even there? It's like he felt like he had to marry me or something, Christine said, tears falling freely. That moment wasn't just a revelation. It was a gut punch. Everything she'd built with him, every compromise, every moment she felt unseen, unheard, unloved. It all made sense now. The coldness, the withdrawal, the favoritism, wasn't her imagination. It was history, written in regret. She didn't walk away because she stopped loving him. She walked away because she finally realized he never loved her at all. Don't blame me if I don't love you. Of all the chilling confessions Kody has made, none cut quite as deep as this one. Don't blame me if I don't love you. I was doing my duty. Blame yourself. Let that sink in. A man who once preached family unity, who touted the sacredness of plural marriage, now placing the burden of his own emotional failure on the shoulders of the women who gave him everything. This wasn't love. It was manipulation, gaslighting dressed in religious duty. To tell someone that the absence of love in your heart is their fault, that their inability to meet your conditions, to live up to your fluctuating standards is the reason for your emotional abandonment. 'Tis beyond cruel, psychological warfare. The pattern of emotional withdrawal. What makes Kody's words so devastating is that they're not one-time missteps. They form a pattern. One wife after another has sat across from him, holding out her heart, only to be told, "You're not attractive to me. I'm not really married to you. You should blame yourself if I don't love you." It's a pattern of emotional detachment, of control, of rewriting history to justify his own abandonment. This isn't a man mourning failed relationships. This is a man escaping accountability by scapegoating the very women who carried the emotional load of his family for decades. A family torn apart. We've watched it happen. Slowly, painfully. Janelle, practical and steady, finally snapped after years of being emotionally sidelined. Meri, loyal to a fault, realized loyalty meant nothing without love. Christine, once hopeful, finally saw the truth and walked away for good. And now Robin, the so-called favorite, the last remaining wife, but even her position is starting to crack. The pedestal is sinking beneath the weight of Kody's self-destruction. Because you can't build love on obedience. You can't maintain family on manipulation. And you certainly can't expect loyalty when you weaponize love. What this means for sister wives Kody Brown's confessions have peeled back the final layers of what was once seen as a unique family experiment. What's left is something far more disturbing. We're no longer watching a man struggle to hold his family together. We're watching a man reveal in his own words how little he understood love in the first place. And for the women who spent decades giving everything to him, they're no longer waiting for apologies. They're done waiting for him to see their worth. They're walking away, one by one. And finally, he's the one left behind. If this story shook you, you saw yourself in the heartbreak, in the waiting, in the realization that love shouldn't be earned through suffering, you're not alone. Drop a comment, share your thoughts. And remember, love should never be conditional. This was the truth behind Kody Brown's most devastating words. And maybe, just maybe, it's the beginning of healing for the women who finally chose themselves. To the untrained eye, it may have just been another scene, another confessional, another man in front of the camera speaking about the complications of marriage. But to those who had followed sister wives for years, it was a red flag, blaring, siren, a moment that pierced through the facade. Don't blame me if I don't love you. I was doing my duty. Blame yourself. Those words weren't just shocking. They were revealing. And for many, they marked the exact moment when the illusion of love within the Brown family shattered. Kody Brown, the man once seen as a father of 18, spiritual husband of 4, and the cornerstone of a plural marriage, had finally said the quiet part out loud. Love, in Kody's world, was not unconditional. It was earned. The weight of his words, when someone speaks, they reveal more than they realize. In tone, in posture, in what they choose to defend, and what they deflect. Kody's words didn't just suggest disappointment or frustration with his wives. They accused them, they blamed them for his emotional retreat, for the failure of the very marriages he once called sacred. They have betrayed me. I'm not leaving my children. They've left me. If I'm not in love with a woman, that's her fault. These weren't just offhand remarks. They were weapons. And he used them repeatedly like a shield to protect himself from accountability. Christine, Meri, and Janelle, the invisible ones each of Kody's first 3 wives had, in their own way, begged for emotional connection. Meri sat in silence for years, suffering not only from physical distance, but deep emotional exile. Janelle, ever independent, had finally reached her limit after being consistently sidelined. Christine, joyful and expressive, realized too late that her heart had never truly been held. They didn't just lose a marriage. They lost the illusion that they were ever loved unconditionally. And that's what made Kody's remarks so brutal, so unforgivable. Because his words carried a chilling undertone. You weren't enough. That's why I stopped loving you. Love as a transaction, Kody Brown, in his own voice, reframed love. Not as a sacred bond, not as a choice renewed each day, but as a contract. One in which the woman must perform, must please, must serve. In order to remain deserving, when I'm in love with a woman, that's her fault. If I don't feel love, don't blame me. It was a reversal of reality. It was gaslighting on a national stage. Because what about his role? What about his absence? His coldness? His refusal to meet emotional needs? That wasn't mentioned, not once. Because in Kody's world, love doesn't fail because both people drift apart. It fails when a woman stops earning it. The unraveling of a father, it wasn't just his wives who felt the sting. His children began to speak up, quietly at first. Then, more boldly, they started to admit what viewers had long suspected, that Kody's favoritism, his volatility, and his emotional withdrawal extended far beyond his marriages. He picked Robyn and her kids. One child reportedly said, "It's the rest of us. We didn't matter." Season 18 and 19 of Sister Wives became a parade of uncomfortable truths. Estranged relationships, missed milestones, heartbreaking interviews, where adult children spoke of being abandoned, overlooked, forgotten, and yet Kody didn't admit fault. Instead, he shifted the blame. "I'm not abandoning my children," he told Robyn. "They've betrayed me." Betrayed him. For what? For growing up and asking questions? For setting boundaries? For speaking their truth? This wasn't just denial. It was delusion. Christine's awakening, if there was one wife who finally cracked the code, it was Christine. Her journey began in hope, her heart full, her dreams of sisterhood, unity, and love strong. But over the years, those dreams turned to confusion, then loneliness, and finally, devastation. "I wasn't attracted to you when we got married." Kody once told her it was the statement that blew apart decades of effort. Not because it was honest, but because it showed how little he valued what they had built. 6 children. Years of shared struggle. A life built brick by brick. And all of it erased with one confession he never wanted her to begin with. She wasn't his first choice. She was his duty. And once that duty wore thin, so did his interest. Christine left not because she didn't try. She left because she realized he never had. Meri, a heart left on read of all the women in Kody's life. Perhaps Meri's heartbreak is the most quietly devastating. She endured more than the others. She was the first. She helped build the foundation of the family. And when the family crumbled, she held the weight the longest. She begged Kody to stay. She believed if she waited, he would come back. But the truth, he was already gone. "I don't consider myself married to Meri." That was the moment. The knife in the back delivered with a smile. No sit down, no closure. Just a sentence dropped in a confessional, like it meant nothing. And maybe to him, it didn't. But to her, it was everything. Janelle's silent rebellion. Janelle never made a spectacle. She didn't cry on camera. She didn't scream. She simply watched, waited, absorbed, and then walked away. But behind her calm exterior was a storm. Years of playing second or third or fourth fiddle to Kody's favorite. Years of asking for help and being told to just figure it out. Years of raising kids practically alone. While Kody played house with Robyn, her quiet strength became her salvation. Because when Kody finally withdrew, she didn't crumble. She saw the writing on the wall. And instead of chasing him, she chose herself. To the last TLC camera crew, Kody spoke in a low, broken voice. I don't even know how to define love anymore, he said, staring down at his hands like they were foreign to him. I used to think it meant sacrifice. Then I thought it meant obedience. But maybe love is knowing when you've been taken advantage of and walking away before you lose everything. From within his jacket pocket, he pulled out an old note, crumpled, worn at the edges. It was from Gabriel. It's a short letter from a son trying to reach a father who had already checked out emotionally. Kody didn't read it aloud. He didn't have. The silence screamed loud enough. He pressed it back to his chest, then whispered, he tried. But that was the truth Kody never wanted to face. They all tried. Christine tried year after year until her joy turned into silence. Janelle tried balancing strength and stability for the kids until her strength was taken for granted. Meri tried clinging to the memory of a man who once promised her forever. Even her pain became invisible. And the children tried. Oh, how they tried to please him. To be worthy, to understand why their father was always just out of reach, but Kody was too busy chasing a dream he no longer lived in. When Christine finally left, Kody didn't ask why. He asked, why now? When Janelle pulled away, he didn't wonder how she hurt. He said she chose the boys over me. When Meri sat in silence, year after year, he claimed she was emotionally distant. And when the children cried behind closed doors, he called them entitled. It wasn't grief. It was projection. Every unhealed wound Kody carried, he reflected onto the people still trying to love him. And when Garrison died, the mirror cracked. You let me go first. Savannah once said those words, quiet and full of ache. You let me go first, not in death, in abandonment. She remembered birthdays when he never called. Family gatherings where he said he was too overwhelmed. Holidays where Robin's table was full and hers sat cold. For years, the children were told, Dad's just trying his best. But one by one, they began to understand his best had limits, and those limits always ended at Robin's door. Kody had once said in an interview, I can't love someone who's not loyal to me. But loyalty to Kody meant silence, submission, shrinking yourself to fit into the version of love he found acceptable. The kids who spoke out, disloyal. The wives who questioned him, betrayers. The family who needed him, a burden he never asked for. He said he was exhausted. But it was the rest of them who carried the weight. They changed, not me. Those were his words, again and again. But the truth is, they changed, 'cause he didn't. Christine grew tired of asking for affection that never came. Janelle grew tired of raising children alone while being told she was disrespectful. Meri grew tired of sitting on the edge of a marriage where she wasn't even a participant anymore. They changed to survive. Staying the same meant staying small. And staying small meant being invisible. And being invisible around Kody Brown was not just common, it was expected. He chose the quietest exit. When Kody emotionally left the lives of most of his children, he didn't slam a door. He didn't shout or write long letters. He simply stopped showing up. An emotional absence. It cuts deeper than any argument ever could. Gabriel once said he waited by the window on Christmas. No call, no knock. No message, just silence. He told his mom he wasn't mad. He said, I'm just learning to accept it. But that was the heartbreak of it. All children shouldn't have to accept emotional abandonment. They should demand better. But when they did, Kody called it disrespect. When they cried, he said they were manipulated. And when they finally stopped trying, he said they gave up on him. They were just mirroring his own withdrawal. Maybe I was never enough for him. Christine once whispered those words off camera, not for pity, but because the truth of that realization doesn't come with screaming. It comes with stillness. How many times did she cook his favorite meals, only for him to say he wasn't hungry? How many times did she suggest family nights, only for him to retreat to Robin's house? How many times did she watch him light up in another home and go cold in hers? She used to think she could fix it. That if she prayed hard enough, smiled long enough, stayed quiet enough, maybe Kody would see her again. But sometimes love doesn't die with a bang. Sometimes it just dries up, a slow erosion, like water slipping through the cracks of a dam you didn't know was broken. The turning point, it wasn't a scandal. It wasn't a fight. It was a moment, quiet, small, almost forgettable. Kody came to Janelle's house. He asked to see the boys. They weren't home, Janelle said. They're working. They're doing good, you know? You'd be proud. Kody didn't ask for pictures. He didn't ask for stories. He just shrugged and said, they've made their choices. That was the moment Janelle saw it. He didn't just lose the family. He didn't want it anymore. Not unless it came on his terms. Not unless it bowed. Not unless it bent. When the cameras stopped rolling, and the lights dimmed and the contracts were signed for another season, the real silence began. Not the kind that fills a room with peace, but the kind that hums with grief. The kind that follows you into the kitchen, into the car, into your children's rooms at night. That silence, the one that asks, where is he? Why isn't he here? That was the legacy Kody left behind. He didn't rage. He didn't fight. He just vanished. And that absence, it screamed louder than any insult. Gabe stopped asking. At first, it was little things. A question about car repairs. A text about school. Then it became birthdays, holidays, achievements, and then nothing. Kody had become a ghost in his life. A haunting memory that occasionally smiled in family photos, but no longer showed up where it mattered. And what hurt most wasn't the silence. It was knowing that silence had been a choice. He was never just our dad. Janelle once said those words with a weight that could split stone. He was never just ours. We were always borrowing him, sharing him, waiting for our turn. But somewhere in the chaos of rotating dinners, separate homes, and shifting affections, it became clear some children weren't just sharing their father. They were being replaced. When Robin entered the picture, it wasn't just a new wife. It was a shift in the gravitational pull of the whole family. Everything orbited around her children, around her needs. The other households became echoes, background noise. Intermissions between the scenes Kody wanted to live in. It wasn't polygamy anymore. It was favoritism disguised as faith. And for the children who had once clung to their father's words, the betrayal wasn't loud, it was slow. Death by 1,000 dismissals. Dayton got a truck. Gabe got silence. Aurora got therapy. Garrison got warnings. Brianna got encouragement. Savannah got the cold shoulder. It wasn't about money. It was about priority. They act like I don't exist. That's what Aurora whispered to a friend once when she overheard her siblings talking about the divide. But she didn't know some of them wished they could forget he existed, because remembering meant pain. Remembering meant crying yourself to sleep while hearing laughter from Robin's house next door. Remembering meant wondering what made them more lovable, more deserving, more chosen. Christine once told Truly, "Your daddy loves you in his own way, but children don't understand in his own way. They understand presence, hugs, time, laughter. They understand who shows up. I was the last one he loved." Meri finally said it out loud, quiet, resigned. Not bitter, but hollow. I was the first wife, but I was the last one he loved. The pain of that admission didn't need to be shouted. It lived in her bones, in the way she decorated her home, each Christmas hoping he might drop by. In the way she dressed up for anniversaries he no longer acknowledged. In the way she convinced herself, he's just going through a phase. But the phase never ended, 'cause you can't pause love that's already gone cold. Meri was always loyal, always waiting, always the obedient wife. And still, it wasn't enough. 'Cause with Kody, loyalty meant erasing yourself. And the moment Meri tried to be seen, tried to be more than a shadow, he recoiled. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a prop. One he could point to and say, "See, I have 4 wives," even if he only came home to one. What kind of father just forgets? That question was never asked in anger. It was asked in confusion. Deep, aching confusion. From kids who watched other dads show up for football games, for graduation, for prom night. Gabriel once held his diploma in one hand and scanned the crowd, knowing exactly who wasn't there. Not just absent, missing. Emotionally missing. Did I do something wrong? He once asked Janelle, and the knife twisted. Because that's what it came down to for so many of the kids. Not rejection, but self